Sadly, most children here believe that one day they too will end up on the other end of the stick, blindly following the next generation.
A boy leads his mother holding her stick. Donald Hopkins, the Carter Center.
You could fly over such areas and identify them because the thatch roofs are not being repaired, the farms are not being farmed, and people are either being led around or lying around as a result of the impact of river blindness.
A girl leads a white-haired man in a patterned robe holding his hand.
In the 1970s, the disease had affected 35 countries. 18 million people were infected with the parasite. 1 million were already blind. The situation was desperate until, quite unexpectedly, a ray of hope emerged from the United States.
A boy leads a group of older people with a stick. Now dogs bark and jump.
In the 1980s, the dogs of America were suddenly freed from debilitating parasitic worms, thanks to a new drug called ivermectin.
Dogs run through a meadow in slow motion.
The dewormer worked so well for dogs and other animals that scientists began to wonder if it could be adapted to kill the worms that cause river blindness. In the late 1980s, a human form of the drug, called Mectizan, was tested in a hard-hit region, and it worked brilliantly. But in sub-Saharan Africa, most river blindness victims are desperately poor. They could not afford even one dose of the drug.
A girl pumps water from a well.
And Mectizan needs to be taken regularly, once every year, to keep the disease under control.
We had a drug which we deeply believed could have an enormous impact on human health. But we could not charge $1 a person per year, 25 cents a year, 10 cents a year. These people cannot afford it at any price. We really did not know what we were going to do.
Then in 1987, Merck made a stunning announcement. If people couldn't afford Mectizan, the company would give it away for as long as it was needed. This commitment held out the promise of a vastly better life for millions of people worldwide.
Our view glides over a half-dozen huts surrounded by vast plains of tall grass.
But there was still a seemingly insurmountable problem. Most river blindness sufferers lived many miles from passable roads, so aid workers could not get the drug to every village and farm once a year, every year.
A truck rumbles over a muddy road.
What was needed was a localized distribution system, an idea championed by a stately, charismatic woman from Nigeria, Uche Amazigo.
The driver helps her out of the truck.
The people that have river blindness are the poorest of the poor. They are far from the cities, beyond the end of the road. We have over 100,000 communities scattered in 24 countries today. How are we going to manage?
Uche's plan was for individual communities to distribute Mectizan themselves without outside help. Drawing on both her doctorate in public health and a deep knowledge of the people of the bush, Uche knew that her first task was to win over the village chiefs.
When we want to approach a community, the first person we visit in any village is the chief of that village, and tell them that here is a pill that will stop your children from ever going blind.
She kneels and shakes hands with a line of chiefs. Now villagers dance, sing, and play drums.
Until recently, villagers performed ritual dances to chase away the evil spirits of river blindness.
A woman closes her eyes and claps her hands. Uche lifts a boy's scarred leg.
Now, with the chief's backing, Uche convinces them to put their trust in a tiny white pill.
She addresses a crowd. She places her hand on another boy's head.
The next challenge is to train people in the proper use of Mectizan and recruit volunteers to deliver the medicine by foot or by bicycle to the most isolated farms.
A man wades into a river carrying a bike over his head.
But it's asking a lot of people who live in such poverty to donate their time with no compensation.
One of the villages we went to refused to distribute this peel because they wanted boots and they wanted raincoats. And we know that if we start giving out this sort of incentive, the program cannot pay for it.
Uche reminds the villagers that Mectizan is being donated cost-free for as long as it's needed. Giving a bit of their time is all that's required to assure a life free from river blindness for themselves and their children.
Children walk across a dusty street.
Uche prevails. Dozens volunteer to deliver Mectizan once a year, every year, until the cycle of disease is broken. Unlike malaria, river blindness has now been dramatically reduced.
River blindness is certainly a success story in Africa. The idea that communities should be involved in their own health, arranging to take and have their neighbors take this tablet. That has been a kind of revolution in international public health.
Donald Hopkins, the Carter Center.
But if the program falters and the medicine is not delivered every year, river blindness, like malaria, will return in force.
If we still leave people harboring these worms, the flies will pick up the worms from those that are infected, cross to other countries, even where we have already achieved success, and infest those people and begin the whole problem again. They cannot stop now because the disease will come back.
Children lead adults with sticks. Now our view glides over the city of Los Angeles.
The best way to stop a vector disease from spreading is to keep it from taking hold in the first place. In the summer of 2004, in California, that's exactly what Kevin Vargas and his mosquito warriors are trying to do in their battle against West Nile virus.
Kevin drives past a sign that reads Vector Control District.
But even here, in one of the wealthiest parts of the world, insect-borne diseases are extremely difficult, if not impossible, to control.
Workers pry open a manhole and climb inside.
There's between 15 and 20,000 miles of underground storm drains in the Los Angeles area.
They're perfect for mosquitoes to breed in. They'll hang out down in there during the daytime, and then at night they'll fly out and get their blood meals before they lay their eggs.
Kevin Vargas, LA County Vector Control District.
As more human deaths are reported, the team resorts to limited spraying of insecticide, a tactic they'd hoped to avoid in this environmentally conscious state.
The truck's driver wears a gas mask. Cars roll down a Los Angeles freeway.
By December, West Nile virus had infected over 800 Californians. 28 had died. But just when things were looking bad, the number of new cases began to drop. The efforts of the mosquito warriors, combined with the arrival of cooler weather, ended the state's first outbreak.
I feel we were successful to a certain degree, even though there was some fatalities. That was expected.
Kevin Vargas.
But we'll still be out there. Mosquitoes never take a vacation, especially here in California. And if you drop your guard, they're gonna be ready and waiting to get you.
A man jogs. Lyle Peterson, U.S. Centers for Disease Control.
People that think that the virus has come through and has disappeared are in for a big surprise. There's no way to get rid of every single infected mosquito. It's here to stay.
A woman wearing rubber gloves puts a dead crow in a plastic bag.
Even if vector-borne diseases can't be eliminated entirely, with the right resources, they can be controlled, as California has shown. And this is crucial, because West Nile will hardly be the last of these threats. In a world where no disease is more than a plane ride away, and no environment is immune.
The jogger runs past a sewer.
People think that mosquitoes are associated with swamps and jungles.
Minu Madden.
Unfortunately, man has unknowingly created many different types of sources to produce a lot more mosquitoes than you perhaps might find in the next